Hello, my name is Michael Ennis, and this is my painting presentation. Over this course of this painting week, I had learned different learning styles and different artists that cooperate with their learning styles. These artists would be George Shaw, Giorgio Morandi, and Maurice Urtillo. Different art students I've seen have worked with different learning styles, and the four main learning styles that I had learned were visual, auditory, writing and reading, and kinesthetic, which is practical work. Different art students usually use music to set an ambiance to their work. There's ones that work hands-on with textural and color composure. Then there's visual, which learn imagery and perspectives of works. And then writing and reading was learning about the artist's history and their experience of how they made their works. And the first artist I want to talk about today was George Shaw, which is auditory. His works were all based around his hometown in England, and they have this very liminal look to them that there is a sense of familiarity or nostalgia within his works, and they set a mood which is shown by auditory, which is ones that I use were on the specials, because there is works that relate to a lot of England and I guess London orientated atmospheres to them. And these are all of his works lack people, but yet have this sense of nostalgia with familiar places, of being in your hometown and being young. And these are all spaces that have often been walked by, but yet not really noticed. And I wanted to capture that, which showing in all of his works are all very present. And in the work that I had done, I had tried to capture colors and mixing colors. This is a photo of the painting that I had done and a painting of the inspiration that I taken off of. These are all composed of just very normal spaces, yet there's a sense of life that has been here and is shown throughout all of his works. And the next artist I'm going to talk about, which was Tuesday's work, was text-based and writing-based, which is Giorgio Morandi. On Tuesday, we had done a work of an essay, learning how he had gathered all of his inspiration for his works and how composure of his works were done, which was him sitting at home with a telescope looking at distant imagery. All of his works were made kind of with less detail, unlike George Shaw, and have a sense of distance with them just because of the telescope that he'd used. And Giorgio Morandi was the first artist that I'd seen that took inspiration off of another artist itself, which was Paul Cézanne, and one of his works called The House with the Cracked Walls. In Giorgio Morandi's works, it's very similar, with a tree in the foreground and a house in the background, both kind of taking center point in that work that he had done. And in the photography that I had done, which is trying to capture the foreground and the background of the composition of the image, and ones of kind of flat houses and plain color with very little detail in them. The painting that I had done was a brick wall with a rooftop and chimneys. It didn't get to be finished, but I think that kind of adds to how the composition of Morandi's works were done, with the center stage not really having kind of much perspective, very flat works. But in the same perspective of Maurice Urtillo's work, which was done on Wednesday, is very visual based. A lot of distance and perspectives were made in his paintings, and then textural works were also a center stage, with certain walls being cracked or bricked walls kind of being not really even, and you can even see stained walls in some of his works. Yet the architecture is very wonky. And I'd say in the imagery that I had done for photography, I mimicked that pretty well, with long distances of pathways or leading into housing estates. This foreshortening was done like the stretching of distance in an image, trying to show the length of a walkway, perhaps. And that's the main inspiration I got from my painting that is shown now. Of the image and of the painting, there's these patchworks of walls with kind of detailed yet nice, clean color. And that was mostly what I based my painting off of. I think Maurice Ortillo's work was the most useful to me, usually just because of visual work. I think learning style was the best for me. And the textural works that he had done in his um, paintings were the most interesting and most intriguing when it comes to learning styles. Uh, I'd like to answer any questions that were going on.
What is the least successful learning style you found?
The most or the least successful learning style that I had done was the text based one. And I feel like that was because I couldn't really grasp what doing the art feels like. And that kind of links into what the practical style is, the kinesthetic style. Yet visually, I could grasp what I wanted to do in the image with photography and working with the artwork itself.
Can you explain liminality?
In George Shaw's painting, liminality took the center stage, which liminality kind of explains the absence of people and the lack of any life in any of his paintings, yet there's this presence, almost aura to what his paintings are. This sense of people used to live here and there's like this ghost remaining. That's what liminality explains or is. And I feel like that is probably the best way to describe any of George Shaw's work.
What were your favorite works?
My favorite works would also be George Shaw's because I think his style and also detail in his work were very fascinating to look at. Yet Maurice Ortillo's was the most useful. I feel like my favorite works just overall were George's, just because he got the colors very nice and there's very silhouetted works, which is honestly my favorite out of any of this works. So in conclusion, I think Maurice Ortillo and the learning style I most worked with was visually, and the ones I didn't really like the most was text-based work. Thank you for listening to my presentation.